Okay, so this is now video number 3 in this series, and in this video what I want to do is to explore how it is that we begin to use the twilight awareness, which again has 3 components. It is the affirmation, relaxation, and then entering into the heart in such a way that we are now enclosed within this heart space that is a very sacred place and is the what I think is called the Holy of Holies. So what we're doing, and I hopefully will have an attachment that will have maybe a series of attachments that will have some diagrams for you to look at. But again, what we're doing with this twilight awareness is we're putting it between our waking consciousness and our sleep consciousness, sleep/dreaming consciousness. So that there's a space in between each of those as we go through the circle of our day. So when we do this at night before we fall asleep, we are preparing the dream time so that we're kind of linking our waking consciousness and preparing it so that we're going to move into the dream time in such a way that hopefully we can begin to work with those dreams productively. In the morning before we get out of bed, we're going to go back into that twilight awareness, which is going back into the heart again. And from that perspective, if we can remember a dream, then call that dream back up into that heart space, into that Holy of Holies, so that we're now beginning to replay it again, once again. It's not just a memory of the dream, but it's actually a replaying of it, almost like it's been recorded. Now, don't take that too literally. You could do whatever your experience is just fine. But for me, I can kind of enter back into that dream with my waking consciousness. Now, when you do that, it's what we're trying to do is not so much to interpret the dream. You know, interpretation seems to be the focus of most dream work. What does the dream mean? We want to know. And that's really approaching the dream from the perspective of the brain. The brain is really interested in information that it can use for its own advantage, for the narrative self to employ to help it defend itself against the world, because the narrative self is very afraid of the world. And why is that? Because the narrative self sees itself in separation from its environment. What is out there is not me, and what is in here is me. And what is out there has the ability to do me in, so it thinks. So it creates these barriers to the outside world, and it wants to use whatever comes its way as a sort of preemptive strike against the fears of the outside world. It's not what we're interested in here. We're interested in the heart's perspective on the dream, which is relationship. So when we call up the dream and we enter back into it, we're doing it from with our waking awareness. So now we have the ability to enter into a relationship that is more conversational. And a relationship, by the way, doesn't just mean a relationship at that time, but the relationship is also accessible in the future. So a relationship continues, and that's the difference between approaching a dream from the perspective of interpretation versus relationship. So what you may find, and what I certainly have found, is that when you enter into this relationship, you create a basis for which you get to know the people, events, and figures, and even inanimate objects that come up in the dream, and you can continue on an enduring relationship just as you would continue any other relationship, like with your spouse or with your children or with friends. It's an ongoing thing, and you can come back and visit it at any time. But it's important to let the dream establish who those figures are and how they are important to you. So what we're doing in this is we're actually entering into this conversation with the dream. Now, a good way to start that, I have found, is if you have a dream and there isn't one particular element that attracts your attention, is to simply ask the question, is there something in this dream that I should be paying attention to? Or is there something in this dream that has a message for me? And just allow that to take place. Now, you will notice that sometimes you'll get uncomfortable in the silence because you think, well, this is not working because nothing's going on, and so you'll want to insert something in there. You'll want to take control of it because that's what the mind likes to do. It wants control. That's what the narrative self wants, is control. And when you do that, you'll notice that there may be a sense of agitation. You'll notice that you aren't in a sense of flow. And so when that happens, just try to relax and realize that's what's going on, and it's okay, no problem. Just choose to let that part go silent. One thing I found helpful was just to say to that part of us, thank you for sharing. We're going to move on now. And just relax back and allow the dream to come out with what's important to you. And if a dream figure comes out within the dream and you want to engage that figure in conversation, I mean, you can begin to ask it questions like, so why are you here? What is it that I am not aware of in my life right now that you want to bring to my attention? You may sometimes find that these figures are extremely powerful in their presentation, so that you know that something of immense significance has come to be. It's almost like you've recovered a part of you that has been forgotten. And it's not just any part, it's something that's really crucial. So what I would suggest is that you take your dream. Now, by the way, this doesn't have to be a recent dream. This can be any dream, especially if it's been a recurring dream that maybe you've had for years and years, and maybe from the time that you were a child, and it just keeps coming back. This is a great way to go back into that and start to pull out information, ongoing relationship that can be of tremendous significance to you moving forward. So I'm going to stop it right there, and we'll go on to the next video in just a minute. Thanks again.